Welcome to the Think Fresh, Move Forward podcast. Today we're talking about risk because it's scary to take risks, but it's also very dangerous not to. And that's what we're talking about today. Be sure to comment below on some topics or products you want us to talk about, or maybe some risks you've taken in your business.
All right, so let's talk about something that's a little scary today, right? So every single business has to take risk, right? So let me ask you this. When do you do it, and what do you decide is worth risk? I mean, I know that you talk to daredevils, or if you ever listen to them, and they talk about risk versus reward, right? And they talk about, I made this jump because 90% of the time I'll fly this way, and then, but the 10% of the time there's this risk, and they're like, how much enjoyment am I going to get? So in terms of business, I think it tends to make financial sense, or in terms of marketing, it tends to make you stand to make money or change position in some way. So how do you make a decision on risk?
Well, you answered that question almost.
It's
the reward. What is that reward? Is it
but everyone's rewards are different though.
Right. So is it an adrenaline rush? Is it a financial gain? Is it clout that someone's going for?
I think also it has to do with the punishment for this action, right? As in, the reward's nice. Yeah, okay, you could get a big reward for deciding to take risk on something, but how many people are you impacting with this choice? So the bigger the organization, the less risk they're willing to take, because you have to keep in mind you have a bigger ship, right? And more can go wrong. If you're an individual, you could take higher degrees of risk, but then you have to think about, do you have a family? Do you have kids?
I don't know. You see, I see bigger companies taking bigger risks, but it's really relative in terms, right? I think the risks you take when you're a small business are much more dramatic than they are when you're a big company, because you could throw what was it? There was a company that ordered metal business cards, and they spent like $90,000 on them, and they ended up not even using them.
Oh yeah, when the certain luxury car brand
which
bought 25,000 metal business cards, they didn't throw it away because they didn't like it. They threw away because some dumbass in marketing changed something without someone's approval, or going down the line
it was essentially their brand promise, which was wrong.
It was off by 2 words, which, by the way, they could have kept it if they just changed it on the website to match what was on the card for this certain promo. But apparently that was enough to throw away $250,000 worth of product.
For that business, so it's dropping the bucket.
But that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Like, so $250,000.
It's relative.
Throwing away $250,000.
It's still relative, right? The percentage of what they make.
I'm not risking that.
That's a rounding error for that company.
And my point is, they already have economies of scale, and that's a small decision, right? So that's not really taking much of a risk anyways, right? What I mean is, if this particular luxury brand decided, we're no longer selling gas vehicles, we're only selling electric.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Yeah, that's
tomorrow.
Massive. That's
right?
Yeah, not likely to do that.
Exactly, right? A small business,
unless you live in California,
a small business could pivot what they're offering in a matter of weeks or months, right?
That's true.
Versus a large corporation, it take years, right? They're like, hey, we're going electric in 10 years, right? An individual can pivot even quicker, right?
Yeah,
an individual can say, I'm making a job change, or I'm making a career path change, right?
There's actually an African proverb that says, if you want to go quick, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. I think that's there's the smaller you are, the more mobility you seem to have.
Oh, definitely.
But let me ask you this: biggest risks you ever took? What were they?
Depends on what it is.
Business
give me the biggest one. Give me the biggest. So Ryan, go through your head and give me the biggest. Find the biggest one and think about it. James, what's the biggest one for you?
While you're thinking about that, mine's easy. My 30-year-old midlife crisis, right? Where I went from a pretty consistent sales manager career to starting Fresh Move. And I just ripped the Band-Aid off, right? And it was like I'd saved some money, and I was, I'd been a top performer in that business. And so I decided I was closing my office because I wasn't passionate about it anymore, and I wasn't excited about building an organization there anymore, and I wanted something radically different. I'm single with no kids, and decide at the age of 30 I'm just going to do something radically different, right? Now, not everybody could do that, right? If I was married and had a family, I'd have to consider that. I'd have to say, would I be willing to take that risk? In my case,
It's tough.
I was like, I'm doing it. I have a little bit saved, and I believe that this is going to be something really special. So
Yeah.
I'm willing to go without a salary for like 12 months, right?
So
which
so
hurt.
how did that
which was painful.
feel?
No, that was painful, right? I mean, it went from a quality of life that I had lived for basically 10 years that was pretty like lucrative, and I could travel, and I went to Vegas a couple times a
Back to
year
your
and
college
They had a
lifestyle.
BMW.
drove a
Hot dogs.
BMW, right? All this stuff, right? Smoked
that-
cigars,
Because that means you made it. 'cause
And-
you
and
drove a
dri-
BMW.
Yep.
drinking, smoking cigars, all
You
that
heard it
stuff.
here.
Nice luxury single malt scotch, right? And nice bottles of wine.
You had
Wow, I
money
gotta
to
cut
do
back.
whatever you wanted.
Yep. Two, I really need to cut back, right? And
Yeah.
I now drive a Ford Fusion, right? That was a conscious decision that I wanted a car payment that was half as much, right? Because literally it was half as much.
That's awesome. That's
So,
awesome.
But it was more important to me to make this change because I felt fulfillment
Mm-hmm.
in doing something I was passionate about.
See, I didn't feel like what I was doing was actually taking a risk because I was at the bottom, right? It was like take a risk or starve. I guess yeah.
That is kind
So
of
that
right,
was
yeah.
I was running for something because I was working at Starbucks and making $17,000 a year, and then I was also a youth pastor, made something from that, not much, but like it was something. It helped. But then like I found
And
out
your
find
moment
out
of
my
decision, right?
well, find out my wife is pregnant. Like I was just like something's got to change, and so I was just like. But I didn't have any money to invest. I had no money to invest in this. I was just like so I started doing graphic design. So I was just like, I have a computer. Like I can download some free software and start making some designs that were really crappy. But anyway, yeah. So, it didn't feel like much of a risk, but I guess.
So the trade that you made was your time,
Yeah,
right? Because you still kept Starbucks for a period of time while you were doing this,
Oh
right?
yeah.
So it was really just about what were you going to do between the hours of, work at Starbucks 6 a.m. to whatever, and then
Makes me want to vomit thinking of all the time that I've had before that.
yeah.
That could have been put to use.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
God, makes
There
me a
you
little nauseous.
Yeah, what I could have done with the knowledge I have now.
Opportunity cost, yeah.
Mm.
If I wasn't a little shit when I was in high school.
So what was yours, Ryan?
There's a lot of them. I would say it falls along the same time frame with you when you did the switch when we started Fresh Move. I think it was a year or so after where I fully committed to Fresh Move as it was growing because I was doing the closing gifts type stuff with the real estate agents and building Fresh Move, and then Fresh Move started getting really busy, and I decided to cut off that lifestyle of making $100,000+ a year right off the rip to not even make that with Fresh Move when we first started.
So how did that? So let me ask you, like, what's
But
going through your head whenever that's happening?
a lot of things. So it was obviously built at. I felt fine doing it, knowing that I had savings in line, and I had already bought my house, so I didn't have any really big things or massive goals that I wanted to spend money on right away. So taking a break from a certain lifestyle or certain style of lifestyle was fine.
And we also had a belief, a fundamental, like, core conviction that we could make this business
Right.
work. Right?
Why websites? Why
And-
did you guys choose that?
Well, and
website was just a component of it because website was the easiest way to be in front of. It was like the one thing that a business was always needed,
yes,
or it's the entry point to the client.
and it's very tangible, right? So when we first started, we were just trying to sell like social media marketing, right?
Really?
Yeah,
It's a lot harder.
and it's a lot harder because it's not tangible to a client, right?
Yeah.
The tangible thing is my website. People tell me that when they come to my website, it sucks, right?
or it looks good, or
yeah,
it
it's like, oh, I can't, like, people can't navigate on my mobile site or something, right? And that's very tangible for a business owner. But to that point, we had a fundamental belief that it was going to work, but there was pain in those first 18 months, right? Because, if you can't pay your bills, right, you just can't pay yourself, right? So
Yeah.
there were periods of time we had to go without payroll, and it was like, our employees, we had to pay, so we were paying them, but we weren't paying ourselves. We had to skip some payroll, and
So
that was tough, man.
We haven't had that in a while. But
Yeah, but that was in the first year. I mean, that was like where we were, because it was uncertain whether we're going to get a client or not get a client, and one client could make the difference, right, in our bottom line.
So let me ask you this: are you like Cortez? Do you burn the ships?
I guess for me, that's how I was, right? But at the same time,
I need to. Yeah.
Ryan wasn't that way necessarily because he had other streams of revenue, right? But for me,
I was burnt out though.
Yeah,
from that one. I was ready to be
Well,
done.
you had a strategic exit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, I need to get the fuck out of this.
for me, it was like I was at a point of decision where I could advance with the company that I was with, or I could move on. And so that point of decision said, to your point, I burned the boats, right? I was like, this is it. I'm going to make this work, and that's it.
Yeah. So
But the risk was, okay, I took, my lifestyle down. But if I had kids and I had a family, I would have probably thought differently about it.
Yeah.
I try to figure out what is the worst case scenario of when I make this change. What are the scenarios that can happen if everything goes wrong? And I like to play those scenarios in my head, so I'm mentally prepared for it if it does happen, and I know what to do when it does happen. So for example, when I started Lux, if it had failed, I wouldn't have cried or, be too butthurt about, because we have no inventory.
Yeah.
So if
You weren't going to be going into massive debt over
No.
a business.
It
was
wasn't
a-
gonna be like Pursuit of Happiness, where the man
No.
has like all bone scanners.
Yes. Yeah.
He's just-
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And you
Running
couldn't
around.
sell the inventory, right? It's like, man.
yeah, so I didn't have any inventory to worry about if that had failed. The thing with the closing gift stuff is that was a fully commissioned job, and if I stopped working, I stopped making money, and I would want to looking for something that was more wealth building and something that was mine, not something I worked for someone else. So it's the long term payoff.
That is a massive change.
Yeah, and
It's unbelievable.
yeah,
When you're able to say that I grew this, or this is mine, it's like it stops becoming a job. It's like it starts becoming like
depends on the week.
like
but-
you stop. Yeah, of course. Yeah, there's but like there's like it's like it. I don't know. It's just like for me, it was like it became this. Who cares if you worked 155 hours this week? Like who cares? Like what? Nobody's. You stop keeping track of hours. You stop looking at the clock. You stop dreading Monday. You're just like working on Sunday and not even not even bothered by it.
or waiting for the weekend. Oh,
Phew.
it's Saturday now.
God, I can't
Yeah.
imagine going back to a life where I have to like.
Compartmentalize.
Oh my God, where it's like you just like live for 2 days a week. Are you kidding me? Oh my, or 2.5 days. I can't imagine that. Anyway, risk was worth it.
Yeah, and then also for me, personally, I would say even buying a house and first-time home buyer
Oh yeah,
by yourself when you don't have a cosigner or parents, it's just you.
Yep.
And you also know how hard it is to get a loan when you're self-employed or consider so.
Oh, yeah.
much
It is.
paperwork.
It is.
Yeah. It's ridiculous.
It is-
It really is.
So that whole process is a little bit longer than. So like if you had a job, someone at Starbucks making the same amount of money as me.
yeah. I was able to
So-
get a house.
Is able to get a house more so because to them that's seen as stable versus me who has a longer track record of a salary of that amount, and it's more of a risk because businesses fail, but people do get fired too from whatever. So
Yeah,
there's no
that's-
such thing as a stable job
That's
unless
wild.
Yeah.
the only time where something is ever stable guaranteed is like a college professor that has tenure. That's it.
Yeah.
And even that
yeah, and they can say whatever they want.
yeah, they can say then they can say
Yeah.
whatever they want
Yeah.
or whatever, but
Yeah.
they're stuck in that role forever. So buying a house when you're self-employed is like very difficult. And then even refinancing. I had to write a paragraph on this was of course during COVID on what freshman media has done to adapt to the changing environment. Like you're going to decide my refinancing on a paragraph that I write? Like
Yeah,
are you
It's
serious?
crazy.
They don't do that anymore, or they don't have that. But even though I am an employee of Fresh Move, I still technically own part of Fresh Move. Therefore, I'm technically self-employed in their eyes.
I wonder if some of that is left over from the 2008 crash.
It is.
where they were
Yeah.
where they were writing stuff to like everyone, anyone.
yeah.
Didn't have to have income. Didn't
Totally.
have to
They
have a
had,
job.
They had exotic dancers down in Florida that they were writing.
Hey,
like,
hey, the Big
like
Short.
massive, right, massive like homes, $1 million homes. But But I want to go back to one thing. So you mentioned you're playing out all the scenarios, right, and how things could go wrong, right? I think that is totally a fair assessment strategy of like whether or not you should do something. I think when I started Fresh Move, it was more, and this was also a motivation technique for me. It was more dreaming all the great things that could come from this, right?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, the worst case scenario is I find myself having blown through my savings and I'm 30 years old. That sucks, right? I'll have to then get a job somewhere else, right?
That's really the only worst case scenario is you have to find a job.
Well,
There you go, right?
Well, see, the thing is, on that aspect, though, I don't just think of the worst, and I don't think of obviously all the positives that come with it, but you plan for the worst to hope for the best.
I see what you mean.
That aspect.
Yeah.
Like when I go skydiving, I don't, if I
Plan
die,
all the scenarios.
Smack.
Yeah,
But the thing is, though, if I do die, I won't be able to sit there and complain about it because I'll be dead, So.
Might as well just enjoy the
What's
flight down.
What's what's the worst that could happen?
Yeah, you'd be dead. So
No, totally. But the point I'm making is when I made that decision, it was more about I was just real fixated on the rewards, right? And that was, to me the risk was minimal, right? But I'm also not a risk adverse person, right? I like to gamble when I go to a casino, right? So I don't mind saying, well, the upside is really awesome. So I'm going to bet on it, even though though there's only a 25% chance, but the upside's big. It's like, well, I'm doing it.
I don't think that plays into your favor there. That's like the gambling addict's like justification for losing their money.
That's true.
I hope on all the upsides, but
but at the same time, sometimes with business, it makes sense to bet big on something that has big upside, right? Even if it's a lower percentage chance of happening, right? Because there's a degree of like, am I willing to risk this, right?
Yeah.
Now, that's where you differentiate between a gambler who's an addict, right, and somebody who's like not risk adverse and walking to a casino. Is I'm walking to this casino and I'm willing to lose $400 no matter what. But the gambling addict is I'm walking in with $400 and then I'm going to pull out another
Another
$2,000,
$400,
right? And that's because I believe so much in the things going my way. But if you go in and you say I have $400 and you're like, okay, this is a low opportunity bet, but it's high reward, I'm totally the person that would choose that. I'm not going to be the guy at the craps table that's sitting there playing like the best likelihood odds because it's slow and grinding. Like, have you guys ever played craps?
Nope.
Once.
Craps is the game in the casino. Sorry to go on a little tangent.
I know what it
here.
is.
Craps is the game in the casino that
Watched Friends.
everyone's having the most fun at, right? Or they're hating life the most, right? So they're having the most fun at because everywhere it's the social game. Everyone's around the table. They're throwing the dice, right? And it's like cheering, right? A lot of energy and excitement. But at every single table, there's one guy who's playing the don't pass line. So there's everybody's bet on the pass line. They're all there to have fun, take money from the casino. There's one person that bet on the don't pass line, and I can describe this individual for you perfectly. He's like 45 years old, white male, balding with glasses, who's probably an accountant, right? And he's playing the don't pass line because he knows he can grind it out slowly over time, right? Because he's betting on the side of the house while everyone else at the table is betting against the house, right? And if you know anything about the house, the odds are always in their favor, right? So this individual is going to sit there quietly, right, and bet and just kind of like work their way up. That was never going to be me walking to a casino. I'm going to be the guy that's like, yeah, there's a lot of opportunity here. I'm going to bet on the thing that has opportunity versus the.
I think so that's there's a lot of personality that plays into that, and I think I'm a bit more risk averse.
Same.
But I'm just obnoxiously positive. I'm just really, it would be a bad time for me to be a gambling addict because I would be sure that I'm going to win.
Yeah,
I don't know where this comes from, but like I just know that everything that I do in life is just going to succeed, and like that's just it.
Well, there you go.
It's sometimes founded.
I just like being prepared and hopeful that I never have to use whatever it is I have prepared. So whether it's emergency supplies.
So there's a lot of analyzing going on in your head.
Absolutely. All the time.
Probably exhaust yourself.
No, it just does it automatically by itself.
Oh, I mean, I think about this. You're always looking at like ways something can be improved. So you're analyzing the way something can be improved. You're analyzing risk. You're analyzing.
Yeah, but see, once I've done
with.
it and it's completed, then I don't look back at it until maybe years later. But
Mhm.
again, when it comes, for example, like emergency food supplies that every person should have, like 6 months. Once I've hit that, I feel comfortable knowing Armageddon happens, I'm good for 6 months. When it comes to certain amount of ammo storage,
Are you a
I'm
doomsday
so-
prepper?
no, I'm not
You
one
have
of
6
those.
months of food though?
Yeah, I do.
For one person.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and every person should, especially.
Probably should. Yeah.
Yeah, you probably should, especially if you have a family, because what in
Yeah,
in the worst
I
case
can eat
scenario,
that.
when if the shit hits the fan, you're gonna be in a slightly dark place, especially when you have someone else that you have to take care of. So,
I don't know. I could
again-
eat them though. I'm stronger than.
but
most
See,
of them.
that is
But-
never something that comes to mind for me ever. Like,
Yeah.
I would never think about it.
and
I need to
it's
be
always
saving up
easy
6
to
months of
figure
food.
out
Well,
who's gonna
sure.
die first in the zombie
See,
apocalypse.
for
It's
me,
people
no,
like this.
No, here's why. Here's why. Because me, it's about developing relationships with people that think that way, right? So when the
That's what
zombie
I'm talking
apocalypse
about.
comes,
But-
That's what I'm
I'm gonna
talking about.
leverage.
But-
I'm gonna cash in that trust that I've built.
But you think you're gonna have that
Oh, what,
ability?
okay.
To
So in the post-apocalyptic
You
world,
won't find
I come
me.
to your door.
I
You're
won't
gonna
be
turn
there.
me away. Is that what you're gonna do? You're gonna be like, get the fuck out of here.
yeah.
Thanks, bro.
Nothing
I
else
appreciate
matters.
it. I'm gonna go to Cody's farm. Is what I'm gonna do.
I'm not going to be at my farm. I
Oh,
already
yeah.
have a doomsday
Yeah.
plan. We're all going to be going
Yeah.
to.
So
We are
you,
behind
No.
the
yeah,
paywall.
you can come to my house, but
Look,
I won't
just
be
put
there.
a trampoline in my backyard.
There's multiple scenarios, and Virginia is not the best place to be.
All right, tell me about you, Cody. Where
Risk?
where would you
Jeez.
say biggest
Um,
risk or time that you felt like you had to?
Well, I'm
Evaluate
completely
risk.
opposite between you two because I'm building Mimir Technologies.
You two or
you two?
Oh.
Right. Because you guys, you had a strategic plan and you were burnt out, so you left. You said, "Screw it, I'm 30. I'm going to make a big change." I am full-time employed, and I'm building it over time because I want Mimir Technologies to replace my current salary. That's my plan to jump ship.
So you're enacting the plan that he would have had he had kids and
Pretty much. Because
Probably,
I had
yeah.
kids. If
Yeah.
I didn't have kids,
Yeah.
screw it.
Yeah.
yeah.
But it's like I need that steady income because, say, for instance, I don't get a client or something does happen. Because right now, like my business is it's making money, but it's also not. It's making ends meet. I'm not paying myself out. So it's like I need to get that client acquisition. I'm spending all this time on doing networking events and stuff like that.
Mhm.
So to have that steady income while not doing fast and famous makes
Sure.
more sense
To
because
buoy you until you can get.
right.
It's
'cause-
really and I a million percent get where you're coming from here because it is it's a difficult thing to invest time when there are a million things that are vying for it.
Oh, sure.
And like you have kids and you're like I don't want them to grow up not knowing who I am or
So
like
from
having a
But
crappy relationship
they're-
because
9
like
to 5 is work.
yeah
5 to 8:30 to 9 o'clock is family, no excuses.
yeah
And then from 9 until midnight until about 2 in the morning, work.
yep
So
I'm there.
on all those points, and I get that, and that's one aspect, and that's fine as far as starting a business. I know a lot of people have done that where they've either they can work from home as long as they get their job done, they can do other things. I know a few real estate investors that have done that. Problem is that I've met other business or people who want to be business people or entrepreneurs that want to copy the same systems that they're doing. And they may have a full-time job, but they don't have the capability of working from home, so they have to go somewhere. But the problem is that they don't want to cut off essentially the income that they have to actually go full-time to actually make it. Well, the problem is they're not willing to do that because they expect that they need to make that same exact amount of money that person's doing that spent 2 years,
Yeah.
and they don't want to take that risk because, well, I don't want to work for free, or I don't want to work on this flip and I'm only going to make $15,000 after the end of 6 months. It's like they haven't done shit, think that they're worth as much as this person who spent 2 years over time, maybe 3 years.
Sure.
But the problem is the aspect of risk in their head is so high, but they're not taking it because they feel that they're worth more. In reality, you have to go through that process.
Yeah, there
Yeah.
does have to be a degree of pain that you experience for
And
a
they're trying
period
to
of
avoid
time.
it.
You got to
That's
do the
big-
work.
Yeah, there's
There's
still
no way
going to
around
be
it.
a point in time where Mimir Technologies reaches a threshold where you're like, all right, I have to take some risk because it's not a sure thing I'm going to assign additional clients in the
So-
coming months, but
Mhm.
I have to do it because at this point it's the business over here is being stunted. The growth of
easily.
myriad technologies
Yeah.
will start being stunted by
So
Yeah.
full-time.
I'll give
Oh,
you a
yeah.
prime example. And this is my real estate business. I know my business partner. He's not watching this podcast, so I'll say it. Well, I won't say his name. I was given that example that I was talked about. That's him. He's a full-time engineer. But there's all these real estate deals that we're not doing. They would make money. But the problem is they won't make enough money for him to where it's comfortable. He's like, I don't want to spend 6 months to make $30,000 or $15,000 at the end of it, because then he puts his whole numbers in his brain, because we own the company 50-50. If it makes 30 grand over that 6 month time, he only made $15,000.
It's $15K you didn't have before.
That's exactly what it. But again, I was trying to explain to him, like, dude, it doesn't fucking matter.
Yeah.
That is money that we didn't have. He's like, well, I don't want to spend, but because he keeps bringing his family into it, and I don't want to spend all this XYZ time. Therefore, I should be getting. We got to find the perfect deals. The
Yeah.
problem, our business has been stagnant because of that reason, and I can't move
That's
up.
scary because it's a volume game in real estate,
Well,
and that market's shifting now too.
But
Yeah.
Cody, I think that you talked about the real key to this, and like this is a big value to anyone who's listening. Like, you have to find where the most important parts of your life are, and you have to define boundaries very specifically.
But
Yes.
if you go to, I understand the aspects on family, but the thing is, if you define that boundary too thin, then you'll never take action on anything. And that's the reason why I like.
Well, something you have to figure out what can give, because for Cody, it's sleep, and
Right,
if it's
right.
this guy, sleep.
It could
Yeah.
be, but again, it's either you do the work or you don't. It's not like he doesn't have the time. He just doesn't want to do it because the payoff is not what he would want it to be. He'd rather work on a flip where we make $92,000 in profit versus not make anything at all.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to
that's-
spend the
And
time,
that's just seeking the perfect deal versus a
Which everybody
better
else
deal.
is doing.
which
right?
everyone else is doing.
Yeah,
and I
it's
get it.
about
And-
progress, not
and
perfection.
And he uses the excuse as it's not scalable. I'm like, again, dude, you can't work something at part-time and expect full-time results.
Yeah.
And then he keeps comparing himself to all these other investors. I'm like, dude,
Well,
this guy that you keep referencing that has been killing it, he has a full-time job that he can work from home, and he gets his job stuff done, and then he works on real estate during the day. So he has the capability. You do not. With that being said, you can't compare yourself to him. And he even, that investor he told us that he kept referencing, I asked, his name is Jimmy, I was like, hey, what if they made you go back to work today? Like, you have to go into the office. He's like, I would quit. I've built my business up so much now where I don't need to.
Yeah.
And if they made me go back to work, I would quit, because he's built a decent enough real estate
Yeah.
portfolio.
well, there's no doubt. I mean, not to reference Gary Vee, right? But it's a period of eating shit. Right?
Absolutely.
You have to eat shit
Yeah,
for a
eat
period
shit.
of time, and that means when you eat shit, you also like sometimes are earning shit, right?
You have to be
And
willing to.
You're earning shit to eat shit, but it's worth it if you believe in what you're doing, if you're passionate about it. See, also, I'm hearing a little bit of a lack of passion about like even.
Well, it just
building
seems like
business,
numbers.
right?
He's
Just numbers.
he's too stuck on the numbers.
Yeah.
Again, this
Yeah.
is the engineering side of him. I think
Yeah.
you talk about me overanalyzing something. Holy shit.
That's just an engineer.
So let
That's
me
like
let
an
me
engineer.
well,
let me
That's
ask
just
you guys this.
Analysis paralysis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is and that's a good segue here, because what is the risk of not taking it?
What's
Because
the opportunity
sometimes-
cost of?
Sometimes it's way worse to not
yeah.
take it, and many times it's way worse, but you don't immediately see it.
He's confining, like, resources are too finite apparently. And yeah, we may make $30,000 on this one, like, again, it's just an example as a reference on this deal, but we weren't making anything anyways. And he somehow, that's the other thing. If you have a significant other, that significant other has to also be bought in on what you're doing.
Oh,
because
sure.
if they're not,
Yeah.
that will greatly, destroy, keep a business stagnant.
It will sap the motivation.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah.
that is one way a business that will fail or not grow if the significant other is not bought in. So they
That's
have to be bought in.
Some real hard truth.
Yeah.
Some real hard truth.
That, because again, it's I'm not telling people, like my business partner, hey, you need to get your shit together with your wife. Like, that's not me or my place. But at the end of the day, it's like, we're in this business together. If your significant other is bitching about you being gone for an hour here and there, or like.
Well, and you know, in his defense, right? He's also coming from a employee mentality, in his work,
And so
right?
is she.
Professionally, right? Yeah, and that's an example of where not everybody is cut out to own their own business, and that's okay, right? Like it's not for everybody, right? And different personalities are attracted to different things, and there comes a point where somebody forcing something to work, it's not ideal.
But
right?
it's
So-
getting that other person, if you're going to do it and you have a significant other, that other person needs to understand that the risk
Oh,
and
yeah.
be willing to jump
Yeah.
ship with you. Because
Yeah.
if they're not, then you're always going to be fight.
Yeah.
There's going to be arguing. You're not going to grow. It's even with a business relationship.
And yeah, and totally, and whoever you're in a relationship with, you have to have shared core values, and you have to have shared interests and shared vision for what you see your family doing. And like going back to your example is kind of the opposite of that, right? Where it was like your wife became pregnant, and then all of a sudden it was like, I need to do something to build a family
Yeah.
or build the life for our
And he starts
family
saving
that
for
we want.
529 college plan trust,
Yeah,
retirement,
Yeah.
all the above.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
yeah. So a lot to consider.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's, I mean,
So yeah, but then yeah, the risk of not taking it is sometimes just massive because
Yeah,
like
analysis paralysis.
what
is
are you
just as
gonna
bad
do?
as
yeah.
what are you
yeah.
gonna like?
not making a
Well,
decision.
There's I think sometimes the risk is bigger when you decide not to, but you don't because you don't immediately feel that pain.
Yeah.
You like for you, I feel like you had maybe reached the end, like you were like I don't feel like I have a choice at this point.
Yeah, yeah. I felt like in my current day to day, I could continue and not enjoy what I do, right? Because that was kind of where I was. I wasn't growing anymore. I didn't feel like I was excited about what I was doing on a daily basis. So it was kind of one of those things where I could continue to do what I'm doing and not enjoy it.
But
Or-
at the cost of like your soul.
Yeah, or I could build something from scratch that I'm really passionate about and that I feel will bring significance. Because that's really what employee job, being an owner, being a business owner, whatever, being in sales or whatever career path you choose or direction you go, it's less about, in my mind anyways, it's less about the money and it's more about feeling significant in what you do on a daily basis. And if you
Yeah.
feel like what you do has significance and you feel like, hey, this is meaningful, then you will find meaning in what you do a majority of your life, which is work, right?
Yeah.
And you'll feel good about it.
Don't
You'll feel satisfied.
don't create a life where you hate like what is it 75% of your time.
Yeah.
For the love of God.
Yeah. It's
Mhm.
pretty
Like
terrible.
I
So-
can't I
Yeah.
can't imagine it.
when it
People do
comes back to this analysis paralysis thing and what most entrepreneurs do, and the reason why most people don't take action, they take the wrong step towards action as far as what they should do. And a lot of them, I would say, there's probably no stat on it, but I would say just from what I've viewed and have seen over the past decade plus, is that most of these entrepreneurs, especially new ones, buy into those businesses who sell motivation. So those people who sell those, seminars,
Mhm.
and these newbie entrepreneurs or
Seven-figure course.
these wannabe entrepreneurs buy these courses or these seminars thinking as that is the step, that is the risk that they have to do in order to get started. That's what like Grant Cardone is really good at, selling risk. There was that one promo where I think he was with Damon John. He's like, Damon, if you were down to your last $1,000, what would you do with it? Buy the seminar. Like, what?
That's
No.
ridiculous.
That is so. And a lot of business owners buy these courses or seminars thinking that is the action step that you have to do in order to achieve,
Yeah.
and that is the wrong
And
approach.
and-
Can those real
Yeah.
quick? Can those seminars and courses help? Sure. But at the end of the day, that is not the action step that you need to take. And the problem is a lot of these people, because they again take these courses and they keep going to all these seminars, analysis paralysis. Once I hear that one nugget, that's going to make me that multimillionaire, because that promo for that show promoter always using that 1 or 2, 3 examples of those people in the front row who happened to find that one niche that made it.
Yeah. The
And
problem is
if-
information is not transformation.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
You ultimately have to act on it.
Yep.
And that's the key, right? Is
The answers are
Acting
not
in the right way,
Yeah.
not by buying some XYZ course.
and that's the thing, right? There is a degree in that industry of always promoting those like small little slivers of success.
It's
right?
the next seminar
It's
you have
that
to buy.
little slice of success that we have a case study of this one little person that was really successful.
It was probably
And-
already motivated.
Yeah, and the thing is,
They had everything they needed.
yeah, and the thing is, when that's kind of your business model, right? It's almost like you're getting the people to beat their chest over taking unnecessary risk, right?
So
Right there is a perfect example. It's Damon John saying, if I was my last $1,000, I would spend it all on this course, right? That's beating your chest, taking unnecessary risk over something that may or may not bring you a reward.
and the person who does that better than anyone, as far as to sell the next course, is Tony Robbins.
Right? Yeah, he does.
Those seminars are great.
He does.
Don't get me wrong. I've done it. But so I did UPW. It's Unleash the Power Within. It's a 4-day seminar.
Yeah.
I think I paid $500. We had a group discount. There was like 4,000 people there. The first day is about getting you mindset, to walk across fire, walk across, I think it's like a 20-foot, I think it was 20 or 30 feet
Coals.
line of coals, which I did. And it's like, it sounds like a cult when everyone's doing it because everyone's saying cool moss. Like, there's a whole psychology thing behind it, but you literally,
Cool,
yeah, it's just
cool,
imagine
Mars.
hearing
Bruce
4,000
Rabba.
people.
Bruce
Cool moss.
Rabba.
Yes. It sounds like satanic as fuck. But again, that was the whole first day. And then the second day was some business health type stuff. But then the third day was all about selling the next thing. And that was the Master University, which is like $10,000. And then if you signed up for that, then you got to go on stage and take a picture with Tony Robbins.
You got
And you see
the next
and you
status
do-
level.
You see all these people walking on stage. And you just do the math. 10,000, 10,000, 10,000. And there's he signs up at least 100 to 200 people in that seminar that paid 10 grand each. So you had to pay the deposit or whatever in order to get on stage. And then the fourth day is more mumbo jumbo stuff and then selling all the other random, here's the $200 pack, like a health package you can buy or whatever. So it's just a seminar to sell the next seminar.
Yeah.
And again, but the people who bought that $10,000 thinking somehow that's gonna be the next. Oh, I get the business mastery. Yes, I'm sure there's a lot of value you can get out of that. But here's the thing: you can find that shit on YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Everything.
you buy the same. Actually, the stuff that you paid 10 grand for to go to that is
on
actually on
You
YouTube.
can go to YouTube and you could learn the University YouTube, and then you also just need to hit subscribe on Think Fresh.
Exactly. We gave it to you for free today. I mean, come on.
You don't need to spend $60,000 for a platinum program so you
Yeah.
can sit in front row and
I also
see.
think
And
that,
don't get me wrong, he teaches some valuable
Yes,
stuff,
there-
right?
there
And
is some-
there's something that provides.
I will say that was by far, from a business standpoint, one of the best transformations I ever had personally, as far as getting clear where I should go. I didn't spend $10,000 afterwards to go to the next thing. I was like, I don't need to do that because
Diminishing returns.
right. Again, it's more of like keeping up with the Joneses, because I realized a lot of people who were doing it were using it as like, hey man, did you sign up? Like a competing type thing. Like,
It's
yeah,
a little peer pressure.
I just gave Tony Robbins
Hey,
10 grand.
All
Did
the
you give Tony
cool
Robbins 10
people are
grand?
doing
What were you
it.
gonna say?
So I was gonna say measurable action,
Yeah.
because you can take action, but you can't measure if it's successful or not. Right? If it actually pushes you in the right direction. If I'm going to take action on signing up a client for XY services, then I get a reward from that. Or if I do marketing, I can see measurements from that too as well. or if
Analytics
it's
on
and stuff
how
like
many
that,
people are
or,
clicking.
yeah,
and,
I buy a website.
Yep.
So I think measurable actions are definitely something that you need to look forward to as well, because if you don't, what are you doing? It's kind of the same thing as doing nothing, because you can take action, planning to plan and everything else, going to seminars. You're like, oh, I'm doing great. What's it doing for the business?
Yeah.
Absolutely nothing.
Oh yeah.
you know,
Oh,
so-
absolutely.
So
Yeah.
unless you take action and in the right steps, and then you can measure that action, rinse and repeat, optimize it, then
I heard somebody say if you're not measuring, you're not marketing. And there's I don't think that's it's universally true, but I think there's definitely some truth in like is what you're doing working, or are you throwing money?
Yeah, or do you just anecdotally think it's working, right? Which is two
Oof.
totally different
Which
things.
is a
right?
scary thing, man.
Yeah,
Which
yeah.
is why people want to mitigate risk in marketing, and
But-
that why they want to spend less, because they're like, I want to see if it's working, and like,
Yeah.
oh,
But
it's-
but at the same time,
Yeah.
right? To argue the opposite and play devil's advocate a little
Mhm.
bit, it's better to take some action than no action, right?
always.
And so I'm always kind of more on the side of let's do it, right? Let's take action on something than I am about being analysis paralysis is not my personality
Oh,
type.
I can't.
But
do
I'm
that.
also very intuitive as a person, right? And some people are more cognitive, and they gotta think and understand everything first before taking action on it. And for me, it's more like, oh, okay, that sounds good. Let's do it, right? Let's try it out, right? Not at the expense of the business failing, right? You have to understand what risk tolerance you have.
Well, that can go for like your employees. Like, let me try this new method, or let me try implementing this. Let's try this theme for this site. Oh, we haven't used that before. Let's
Yep.
go ahead. What's
Yep.
that going to cost you? $100?
Yeah, exactly.
And then
It's
now
a-
you have this
low
new
risk.
skill
Mhm.
that your employee knows. You have this new product you can sell.
Yep.
Right. So that risk is very minimal as well.
So, I mean, I think it all comes down to like, hey, eventually you have to act, right? And
Mhm.
you have to act in a way that's going to grow yourself and grow the business.
It
because
has-
otherwise.
I think you have to define. I think back to the original question. I think what we've meandered around is like I think you have to find the reward that is most valuable to you, because it's not always money.
Oh no.
But sometimes it's position. Sometimes it's like it's people that you're putting yourself around.
having an impact. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, I mean, you guys. Okay, well, so this is interesting. You guys could have started Fresh Move in your house. Could have done that, but you started it in Gather, which was like a co-working space.
I was already there.
Well, yeah, Ryan was already there, and then also Ryan sold me on the fact that, hey, this is not just for our productivity,
Mhm.
right? This
was
is
like-
also for us to connect and network with other
And
business
like, you need to
owners,
get the
right?
fuck out of your house, is what I
So,
said.
yeah, well, and so what ends up happening is now you're surrounded by other like-minded individuals and your
Mhm.
community of people, and then it came to the point where we
It's-
outgrew that, and
it's
we had our
forced-
own community.
It's forcing
Mhm.
yourself to network.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we had our own community built once we got several employees, and now it was like, hey, we could go out on our own and have our own space, right?
Yeah.
But-
It was also
Yeah.
cost. It just didn't make sense
Yeah.
to
Mhm.
continue.
Yep.
So, well, this is a
All
great
right.
segue into the next our Shark Tank series. So last episode we did the Scrub Daddy, which was the sponge that I use a lot
I
now.
forgot to take that home. I got to take that home.
You didn't take it home?
No, I
So,
forgot. I left it on the table.
So yeah, it's Shark Tank's most successful product launch. So I think we did a great segment on that. Having
Grr. It's like a pumpkin.
All right, the next one is actually I bought a bunch of products on Amazon for our next few episodes.
Mine's dirty.
This is called
You know
the
what?
PhoneSoap.
Mine is dirty. You know.
This is PhoneSoap 3, I guess is the it doesn't clean it that way. I'll explain it here in shortly. It's a UV cleaner essentially. It's a UV sanitizer and charger. So this is the PhoneSoap. I think it retails at $59.99.
So it's using UV light to clean your phone. Is that what it's doing?
clean germs off.
Okay.
All
So
right.
essentially, this is it. This is the
Oh.
This is the device. It's kind of bulky. Personally, this is something I would probably never use. This is more for, I guess you would say, the germaphobes.
Yeah.
I
There's
mean, it could be for
there's got to be a
people who, like,
specific
in
person,
healthcare.
because
Yeah.
that person is not me.
Yeah, I would never use this. And
It feels a little Sky Mall-ish. to me,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Like A
yeah.
little bit like Sky Mall.
so
Well, it
we'll,
doesn't do
we'll,
just phones.
we'll watch the you can do other things. We'll watch the pitch here shortly. But my takeaway for a product like this is that this is for the germaphobes. I can't see this in a not retail.
A commercial application.
Commercial
for it?
application, like maybe a hospital where they need to disinfect
High risk
everything.
people.
Yeah,
So
that's
the high risk
interesting.
you tend to see
people.
more tablets or phones being used in hospitals now.
Yeah.
I can
Well,
see
you know-
that being done.
Yeah. Well, I think there's a seems like there'd be a really good application to do that on a bigger scale, like a bigger thing.
I think they do
with
have a bigger
surgical
one.
tools
I
and-
just bought the phone. This is for
Well, and I think it could also commercial application could be a value add for, let's say, like a hotel room, right? It's like, hey, this is a device that's in the hotel room. You have coffee, right? And you have
Mhm.
this little thing that you could put your phone in and
It
clean
cleans it
right?
for you.
Cool.
So and then you can charge it. So you could put your cable into here, and then you can goes through here, so you can put your phone.
Oh,
in
I
here.
While it's charging the phone while
It's charging while
I
it's
see.
plugged in,
Yeah.
so the power cable's not long
Interesting.
enough. But yeah, so essentially that's how it works. So
All right. Let's.
All right.
let's bring up the episode. I'll have my phone being cleaned while we're doing this. So this is Shark
Let me know
Tank
if your-
season
Let
6,
me know if your phone develops superpowers. 'cause
episode
I think that's how it
16.
works.
It's called if it mutates. Is this even on?
We're at 30
there an
minutes.
on button?
We're at 30 minutes. Is that right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it does turn on. So.
Intense
Next into the
music.
tank is a product designed to sanitize something we use every day.
Hi, I'm Dan Barnes.
And I'm his cousin, Wes Laporte, and we're from Provo, Utah.
Our
coulda left
company
that out.
is PhoneSoap, and we're seeking $300,000 in exchange for 7.5% of our company.
Whoa,
Let's
whoa,
start with the
pause that real
question,
quick.
What's dirtier, your cell phone or
7.5% for 300K, which means he's evaluating his company at $4 to $5 million. That's a big ask for seven. You say 7 or 7.5?
7.5.
7.5. Yep.
300K.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Unless they have a track
Well,
record.
we'll see what their sales are.
Yeah.
Right?
So, all right, continue. It's a
a
horrible
public
logo.
toilet?
A public toilet, right? Wrong. It's your personal cell phone.
In fact, the average cell phone has 18 times more harmful bacteria than any surface in a public restroom.
Yet I'm
And
still here.
1 in 6 phones was found with fecal matter.
Disgusting. So what are we supposed
Probably
to do?
your own,
Stop
though, right?
toilet texting?
I hope so.
You use
I would hope
PhoneSoap
so.
Charger. PhoneSoap Charger uses ultraviolet light to kill all the bacteria on your phone in just 5 minutes.
should've done the black
And
one.
it's
That one's much
universal,
cooler.
So it cleans any phone and it charges any phone.
So how
Probably
do
20
our
bucks more.
phones get so dirty in the first place? Well, you see, what our hands touch, our phones touch. And while we wash our hands to keep healthy, we wash our phones. That's why PhoneSoap's the perfect solution to this growing problem. It kills 99.999% of all bacteria and can fit and clean even the large phones. Sharks, we don't expect you to cease all commode communication, but we do need your help to start a clean phone revolution.
Amen, Daniel.
Do we get to see samples?
I'll
Mormon.
bring one right up.
Why
All
wouldn't
right.
I just use sanitizer?
Provo.
That's a great
Amen.
question. So,
Thank you.
alcohol obviously kills bacteria, but it really does two things. It can damage the phone and void the
Oh,
warranty.
that is a horrible response.
Can you use a
He's got a
sanitizer
point.
on
So
it?
that's what I was talking about. I would
Well,
just
here's
I would
the
just
reason
use
why you can't.
sanitizer.
The reason why you don't want to is because there's an oleophobic coating that ships with all your phones. And if you use a chemical cleaner on it, it strips that coating, so your fingerprints stick to the screen more.
Look, for that
you
valuation,
just get a screen
must
protector.
have some sales, right?
Yeah, so we've sold in the last 5.5 months 537,000 in sales.
And how much do each
It's
one
not
of these
bad.
cost?
It's a $500,000.
$59.95.
Yeah.
So you sell it for $59. What does it cost you to make?
Costs us $20 to make it.
Okay, where are you selling this?
We started mostly
A little bit
online,
above 50%
and we've
margin.
got a large office supply company, Staples.
Oh, you have it in Staples.
How many stores in Staples?
We're in 400 stores.
What's your background, guys?
We started this actually in college. We're cousins. At the time, I was doing cancer research in a lab, and Dan told me about this article he read that our phones are 18 times dirtier than a public restroom. I swabbed all these different surfaces and found that, yeah, my phone really is that dirty. We use ultraviolet lights in the lab to sanitize surfaces, so we took that technology, married it to a charger, because if you're already charging your phone, you might as well clean it at the same time.
I'm
So
going to
Wes,
guess that there's no patent you can get on this because cleaning devices of this kind are everywhere.
So we actually have 2 utility patents submitted.
I bet
Submitted
you
doesn't
our
mean you
average
have 'em.
phone here, if you swabbed it, would be disgusting. The average consumer is relatively lazy, and I'm not sure they see this as a major issue that they are willing to spend money on.
Yeah, Robert, I think it's a bigger issue because your phones
Can we
are
pause it real
portable,
quick?
Our charging devices.
So I think they need to rebrand, right? Because I don't like the idea of PhoneSoap, right? Like
I
soap.
thought it was like an ultrasonic actual washer.
I thought there was going to be some kind of like liquid element to this, right?
Yeah, I was on board if that was the case.
it actually in some ways would make me feel more comfortable if the name was slightly different, because if soap is going to be applied to my phone, the first thing I'm thinking of is like my phone's going to break, right?
Right.
Like we can't have liquid on my phone.
Mhm.
And so I don't really understand the name, and I think that could throw people, especially if you're talking about a retail
And
environment.
then from an SEO standpoint, I think like phone cleaner, obviously it's very generic,
Yeah.
but you could
Yeah.
easily capitalize on that versus no one's going to search phone soap as far as like an actual descriptive term to clean the phone.
Yeah,
They're gonna like clean my phone
yeah,
or phone cleaner.
yeah, that's
So-
interesting.
And their branding, they obviously changed it because that logo is nowhere to be found
Oh,
on here.
yeah.
It's on the device, which obviously just stayed changed because it's just lazy on their part.
PhoneSoap 3, is that what
But
they're
this
on
is
now?
the third, I guess the third version. Again,
Okay.
this came out a while ago.
Yeah.
Since we're just reviewing these, but obviously they're still in business because this is the third iteration of this.
Yeah.
And it looks exactly the same, but they did change. They have the logo, but it seems they focus on the title, the name
Yeah.
of that. So go ahead and hit play.
have also become very portable.
Well, we've seen a lot of our customers put it in their office, like at their desk, and what we found is most people are going to pay $30 for a charger or a case.
No.
And they look forward to the opportunity to have.
$30?
You got to convince
Yeah.
people.
I
that
will
their
say,
phone is
like
essential.
out of
Mark
box.
Cuban, yes, they would.
Yeah, they would. People will do it all the time.
Everything else, I'm struggling because you sold 500,000, so maybe I'm wrong.
Maybe you found a segment of the market that's really anal
My phone's
about
not
this.
clean.
So we've spent a lot of money to do focused and targeted marketing. So we're starting first with
How
the
much money have you
low-hanging
spent?
fruit. This year we spent about $80,000 in marketing.
Wow.
How much have you raised in
That's a
total?
good
We've
percentage.
raised
Good
Makes sense
ratio.
there.
So
$800,000.
On Kickstarter?
was from a local investor. We gave up 60% of our company. So the question is
60%.
why?
Oh, hold on.
There were
Hit
two
pause.
entrepreneurs that really had an idea that we loved.
So they got $800,000 investment to give away 60% of their company.
Yeah.
I thought you said 6%.
No.
And what and that means that and they're now offering 7.5% for 300K. The Sharks
That's why
are
they have
definitely
they
going
have
to take
no,
issue with that.
they have no equity.
Yeah.
That is a loan shark deal. That is someone, he said local investor. That's someone that just has cash sitting on hand. They're not probably a savvy, they probably made money in investments, but they're not like a VC venture. That is a horrible deal.
Yeah, they just took over the company, right? So
Essentially.
they became majority owner. So
That the reason why he took 60% is because he probably really didn't believe, but he just wanted some level of equity where if it did get some success, that is a deal. That is a horrible deal in my opinion.
Always leave yourself 51%.
60, jeez. All right, go ahead.
We hit the point where it was like it's going to cost us a lot of money to make it, and we decided it was either be greedy and have this go nowhere, or give
No, that's
ourselves
fair
an
enough. That's
opportunity.
fair enough. The problem is, unless you get that PR pop, it's going to be very, very expensive to sustain. So your sales probably go like this, right? It's a niche product. You're not a company yet.
Right. One thing we've uncovered is that there's a huge market in hospital and schools.
But guys, there's all kinds of sanitizers that hospitals use for their devices. There's a whole protocol that they go through.
Sure. Well, hospitals have started reaching out to us to come present their product, and it's because they're starting to deploy lots of tablets into the
They use
hospitals.
them when they go into the room.
Wes, I gotta tell you, I don't see it. I don't need a tanning bed for my phone. I'm out.
Okay, let's talk about the hospital applications. What's the lowest cost you can get, and can you get it so it cleans in under a minute?
Yeah, there's 3 parameters that you need for effective UV killing. One of them is the
How long does
proximity.
this
The
take,
further away you
actually?
move the light from the surface,
5
it decreases.
10
Also
minutes.
the intensity and the duration. And so you can play with those 3 factors, and if you can get the light close enough at the right intensity, then you can reduce the time.
Now you've got my interest, right? A product for consumer, for PhoneSoap, but every single person who goes to visit anybody in the hospital brings their phone.
Right.
That's a whole different selling process.
It is a different
I've
selling
invested
process.
in companies that sell to hospitals. You have no idea
Yes,
how
I
long.
do. Yes, I do, because I've got companies that sell to
That it is
hospitals as well.
brutal.
Shut up, Kevin.
Any type
Get out of here,
health
Mr. Wonderful.
service and say, sign up there. Please clean your phone. Put it in here. Slam it. 1 minute.
Wesley and
boom,
Dan, I think
and I'm-
Mark is extremely
Yeah, obviously they
optimistic.
didn't do the
I
1 minute thing
think
because it
teaching
says
any
10 minutes on this thing right
administration
here.
to start a new habit, ask the visitor to put the phone in. I think you're dreaming. Here's my objection to it. As a sanitizer,
Be in the
it's easy
waiting
to
room.
use a baby wipe. That's what I do. Baby wipe done, throw it away. And most importantly, it's not portable. I think everybody travels with their charger today. It's just too bulky to travel with.
Oh.
Right.
And so for all of those reasons, I'm out.
Do you have a charger?
I don't think it's been proven yet as a
You have a
successful
portable
product because I don't know what percentage of the
My
market
battery on my phone
is
lasts
really
long
able
enough now.
to buy this and what the customer acquisition cost is going to be. The only way I do this deal, I'm going to make you this offer. Here's how it's going to work. I'm going
Royalties.
to give you $300,000. I
Of
want
every unit.
$6 a unit.
perpetuity.
There it
until
is,
I recoup the
$6 a
300,000.
unit.
After that, it drops to $3 until I get paid out $1.2 million, and then I go away. It's a pure venture debt strategy. I think it's fair.
He's all
it's
about
something.
royalties.
That's a loan shark
See if
deal,
we can
man.
do any better.
It's still a ripoff.
It's still a ripoff.
That's a hard money deal. Hard money lender.
Zero.
I
Lots
wouldn't
of advice
insult you
that's
with that.
worthless. By the way, I think the hospital market's interesting, but the sales cycle is years, not months. Years.
We appreciate that offer. What we're looking for is someone to come in for an equity stake because we've
You're
been
dead to me.
selling it. The market has been responding. 60% of our sales are online through targeted marketing. So people are buying this. They do like this concept.
To me, this is not something that everybody's going to buy. But on the commercial side, that's interesting to me. Any medical facility, particularly in a waiting room where you know everybody's using their phones to kill time. But from a healthcare professional's perspective, I could carry anything bad into that waiting room, which could then be picked up and distributed throughout the hospital, waiting room, whatever. That's enormous value, but you can't give up your phone for 5 minutes.
I made you an offer. Should I withdraw it?
We think that the company is worth what we asked for.
Okay, how about this? I'm out.
Wow, bird in the hand.
It's just a dick way.
I'll make you guys an offer.
It just makes a TV show.
I'll give you the
That's for like
300,000.
20 minutes back and
You're a
forth.
fool.
I'm always a fool, but it's made me a lot of money. 20%, and the contingency is that you can deliver a unit that charges in 30 seconds and that we can price in the area of the $12 cost.
Can you hit pause?
All right, West End, you got an offer.
Charges in 30 seconds.
I think he misspoke. I think what he meant to say was cleans.
Sanitize,
Yeah,
yeah.
sanitize.
So they already lost 60%. Assuming they have no other small-time investors like a family member, like a mom or dad that gave them any money, that would only give them an additional, with that gone, so 60, 70, 80, it's 80% of the company gone. So they only have 20% left between them.
Yeah.
And that's 10%. I would assume they're 50-50, so that's 10%.
Yeah.
They don't.
And,
They have.
and
They don't
really-
have the controlling.
company anymore.
And
Yeah.
really, what they're buying is let's think about it. They spent $80K in marketing, right, for this past year, and they did $500,000 in sales,
Mhm.
right? So what they're basically buying is a runway of an extra, let's see, $80K.
Well, their cost per unit is $20, so that's
Well,
essentially.
yeah, so they're buying, that was $80K in 6 months, right? So they're buying an extra
Buying
2 years of marketing runway, which
well,
is
well,
fair. I mean,
marketing and inventory. I
yeah,
guarantee that's
yeah.
probably for inventory.
They also did get their
yeah.
patent too.
They did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, patent.
Does it
US,
say?
it's on
Does
there.
it say pending? Oh, they actually do have a patent. Yeah.
Nice.
So they
Well,
got.
that-
He said he
that-
had 2 utilities. So obviously they only got one of them. Because if they had 2 patents, it'd be 2.
Yeah, there's only one.
Yeah, it's
Right,
only one
it's
patent.
one.
Yeah.
So they probably didn't get the. All right, go ahead.
You have his
300,000.
offer, but you haven't heard mine.
Well, remember what happened last time.
And this just show
This
is
show's
sponsored by Lux Metal Card.
3 sharks are out. Mark Cuban has offered $300,000 for 20% of their phone cleansing device, PhoneSoap. But Lori wants in on the action.
You have his
300,000.
offer, but you haven't heard mine.
Well, remember what happened last time.
So I saw the Dr. Oz that was talking about what's on the phones, right? Pretty scary. I've sold millions in cell phone cases, and I've sold millions in sponge sanitizers that look kind of like yours.
QVC.
So I get that this is a great concept. I would like to make you an offer of $300,000 at 15% because I want to
Ooh,
take
that's double.
this unit, put it on QVC, put it
Still
in my
better than
show,
Mark
and
Cuban's.
sell hundreds of thousands of dollars in it like that.
If you
That's
wanna
a way
go
better deal.
consumer, QVC is the destination. More power to you, right?
No, not just QVC. Retail, all retail.
If you want to go retail, we all have retail connections. But again, I see this more as a commercial product. Why? Because we can control our own destiny. Instead of putting it out there and waiting for the phone to ring and hoping that people walk to stores, because you can charge a premium for it. It sends the message to everybody who walks into those doctor's offices that you need one.
It's valuable.
Right? The doctor's using it. It must be smart.
Right.
I
So
say
that's
do
why I
it
see-
all, guys. I mean, why just do doctor's offices?
But it's tough to do all.
Oh,
right?
no,
it's
it's
tough
not.
to be great.
I do it all
Yeah,
the
but Lori,
time.
when was the last time you created a sales force that went out and sold a commercial product into commercial organizations?
You don't know what I do. Mark, I have over 500 products in
Right, and you
17
have that
years.
sales force
Shots
that's going out
fired.
knocking on doors all the time.
You know
Lori.
what? We do.
Right. Wes, what are you going to do?
Right.
Should pause.
But Lori came in at 15% and you're at 20.
Who are you voting for?
The what?
Who are you gonna go for?
Oh, who am I choosing?
Who's gonna get the deal?
Oh man, I think it's a little bit safer to go with Lori, right? Because they already have a B2C approach, right?
Mhm.
That's what they're doing. They're doing online marketing for a very niche product, right? And it's lower risk.
Very niche.
But I mean, I think in potential scalability, I mean, man, you could clean up if you could get into the hospitals and and like sell huge amounts of units at once,
Right.
I don't know. I could go either way,
Ryan?
frankly.
Well,
I-
have you seen the outcome?
I have not. I'm just pretty confident that Lori's gonna get it. Just because one, it's 5%
Well,
lower.
who would you choose?
I would choose Lori in this deal.
You choose Lori?
Well, because this is real quick. My reason why is this is a retail product. I understand the commercial aspect of it, and yeah, it's not hard to get, and they're already working on that aspect. But they're in one store. They're in Staples.
Yep.
You QVC, great. You can make a small surge of sales there. But if you can get this into this is a Bed Bath and Beyond product.
Yeah.
This is something you would see on an end cap and shit you would buy.
Sharper image, right?
Or Sky Mall or whatever.
Yeah.
So, and the person who does the best out of all these sharks, Lori.
Yeah.
So
that's true. That's true. What do you think, Aaron?
I wouldn't sell to any of them. They've already lost. I mean, they're at like 40% of their company.
Well, it's true.
It's true.
It's like it's working. This is not. I don't think this is going to be like.
So I wonder there's a backstory as to why they're here in the first place.
Well, probably because this $600,000 or $800,000 they got. Again, it's just from a local investor who has probably no experience on a B2C product.
So they're road line.
They're stuck. And here's the thing: when you're trying to get a product in retail, it is very difficult.
Very hard.
That is a relationship-based business. So what the reason why they're here is they're buying the relationship.
I'm impressed
for equity.
with the fact that they're even in Staples, right? So it's like on their own. So
in 400 stores too. For Staples to buy that much inventory, which is probably only 10 units a store, give or take. That's still that's probably why they got the $800K. So I need my phone. So just do some real quick math. So they're in 400 stores. Times say you were to do 10 a store. There could be more than that. Their cost is $20.
I think
that's 80,000. So it could be more. It could be 20 units a store or whatever.
I'm telling you, they're not going with Mark Cuban. They're not because he made it because of the contingency that they have to get down to 30 seconds, and it's already. And this they already know what they're doing, and they're like, he just said. I mean, he just said cut it down from 5 minutes to 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Change chemistry.
Yeah, that's gonna be
kill
that's
germs
gonna be
in less than a minute. Yeah.
They just in their heads they're like impossible.
Yeah.
All right, hit play, Aaron.
Without skyrocketing the cost.
No. You'll be part of our entourage. There's a difference between building a company and just selling a product.
I wouldn't have done $40 million almost in all my Shark Tank products if I didn't have a great sales force.
And that sales force is television time on QVC.
It's not, Mark. It's not fair to say that.
We came in at 7.5%. 15% is half the valuation. 20 is even more than that. If we could meet halfway.
I'll go to 10 if you take my offer right now.
Deal.
We're going to clean up the MRSA. I think that.
So they have 30% left over.
We just have to educate them.
Yeah. Thank you so much, guys.
Good luck, guys. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Clearly, they had in their mind, hey, we'll go to 12.5, or we'll go, And
oh yeah,
you
definitely had those expectations. Yeah, this is exactly where we wanted it.
So I'm curious how much they did in revenue, but as I'm looking this up, you guys start talking. What do you guys think of the product? Which is
yeah, I mean, I think overall, I would not buy it, but also I'm not the type of person that has to have the gizmos around me to do things.
I hate having anything. I don't want anything.
I'm pretty minimalistic in that way, so I don't think I would.
My phone is not killing me. My phone is not killing me. It's not
that you know of yet.
Holy shit!
So
they exceeded what I thought they. So in the past 7 years since airing Shark Tank, they've done $150 million in retail sales.
Wow. Yeah. Well, Lori helped them out.
I guess some people do buy that then.
Wow.
Not me though.
That's pretty impressive.
That's 10% of that's a lot of money.
The information about a toilet is compelling if you don't if you don't know that toilets are actually cleaner than you think they are.
They have
your kitchen counter is the dirtiest place in your house.
Sinks are dirtier than a toilet.
They have 6 new line according to them. They have 6 other products
do you know
that
the
they
reason
offer.
Why? I've heard I've heard it, but I don't know it.
Human excrement, right? There's less bacteria or less harmful stuff.
The number of different types of bacteria, right? Because you got raw meat, chicken, seafood, food, rotting food. Everything is
so
instead of just one thing.
My phone's been in this for 10 minutes, and I'm still alive, but I was even before it. But it is something I would not buy.
If it was like one of those ultrasonic jewelry cleaners that were designed for phones, you've seen those where you put a diamond ring and
I think that
gets
would
all the dirt.
That would destroy your phone.
Probably. But
I
if it was
I feel like it's people
kind of
I feel
stuff,
like
that would be
people buying
different.
this
Yeah.
know a friend that's like, you know what, they need this. They would love this.
It's like a gag
you
gift.
think there's a lot of people giving it as a gift? That's interesting. Yeah.
You're disgusting.
Secret
Yeah.
Santa.
People walking
No,
through the
no,
store and looking at it and being like, "Oh, so and so would really like that." Right?
Yeah,
Oh,
because
the
they're
show the monk.
because they're OCD.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the people who are OCD or who are like those really like people who are like alone in their car.
What do you think, Aaron? Yes or no?
Did you buy it, Aaron? No.
No.
It's a no.
It's the same people who still wears the mask and gloves and driving in their car by themselves.
Yeah.
Those are the type of people.
Well,
who buy this.
I think ultimately clearly they found enough of a market to make it work.
I will
It's
say
150
probably
million.
during when COVID first started, I guarantee you this company's
Oh,
sales.
yeah.
Ooh,
Yeah.
That's a
I
fair
bet
point.
they
That's a
cleaned
fair point.
house.
I don't know how effective this would be with viral agents though. UV light.
Well, it's just
Said
UV.
99.9%.
Yeah, well, could be
Triple
the
nine's pretty
0.1.
effective.
Yeah.
At least I know I'll be safe today.
There you go. You've saved yourself.
I saved myself.
Oh, you just
and-
touched it with your hands. No, it's contagious.
It's
yeah,
ruined.
It's ruined.
So
All right, we're gonna wrap with our meme, right?
Oh yeah, it's fun. Oh, that's meme. Yeah. So just a reminder to anyone who does jujitsu or anything else in life, if you have a 10-year-old, just yeet him across the room because it doesn't really matter
Again,
the size of your opponent.
take risks.
Always put forth effort.
That
Give
kid-
it your all.
Give it your all.
Take the risk. That kid could have killed you.
Just drop him.
All right, so that concludes of this episode.
We don't advocate for doing that to
violence.
children.
Yeah. Well, this guy does.
This was a
clearly.
training environment. Everyone consented to being thrown across the
I
room.
bet you his mom was the one who took this phone picture of this phone too.
He was
It's like-
probably the one like going, "Mommy, I'm gonna get thrown across the room."
Or
Take
it
the
was
picture."
a dad, and the dad was like,
Or
"All right,
maybe that's the dad.
Yeah.
That's probably
Good
fine.
Yeah.
or punish my kid for me. Thanks. Kid's being a little shit." All right, so that concludes today's episode of the Think Fresh Move Forward podcast, and we'll see everyone in 2 weeks.